In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my smite. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Paladin's light.
Hello Acolytes, welcome to the Cleric Corner. My name is Riker, and here we talk about all things Dungeons and Dragons, tapping into our higher powers to create worlds more unique and stories more impactful. According to the Player's Handbook, a Paladin is upholders of righteousness that make solemn oaths that give them their power. Committed to God or justice itself, they commit to years of training in order to accomplish their goals. But what if your Paladin had nothing to do with gods or oaths? What if their power comes from an altar, or their oaths not being their own, but others' expectations of them? Today, we're going to look at some unique archetypes for the Paladin and subversions to that trope. To help you make your next character, I will be going over 10 unique character concepts, so together we will vow never to make a boring character or NPC ever again. To start off, we not only strip the connection the Paladins have to their god, but to magic itself. The Demolitioner Paladin uses black powders instead of divine smites. Their weapons are filled with gunpowder, or the medieval equivalent, that ignites when it hits the enemy. Or you can go all out and attach actual C4 to your sword. You could have your party's artificer provide these or make them yourselves, but you reflavor explosive damage to, well, explosives. Ooh, or if you've ever seen those swords with an actual gun attached to the hilt, load that puppy up and smite with some close-ranged bullets. And then everyone in your aura of black powder and sulfur gains the benefits of your vigor. Your healing hands would be burning this gunpowder over wounds to seal them, but if we're going the non-magical route, you can also just reflavor your smites as a similar effect to a sneak attack, or as increased damage as spurts of rage like a barbarian. But now let's slap back on the radiant damage to your divine smites, because I have a certain bone to pick with the damage types of this class. With the Radioactive Paladin, your radiant damage is actual radiation. This could come from exposure to gamma radiation or a nuclear bomb. And within this nuclear fallout, they somehow survived absorbing mass amount of radiation within their bodies. Perhaps, of course, through magic, because it makes sense that radiant damage would be radiation. And this is actually confirmed by Chris Perkins himself. When you smite, some of that radiation slips out and burns the exposed skin of your enemies. But then in very small doses with your aura, it actually provides some benefits to your party members. But going forward, I actually want to advocate using other damage types for your smites. Because, and this might be an unpopular opinion, but I don't think that all paladins really fit the radiant damage type. Let's take gods for example, and because there are so many different gods with different domains, each cleric or paladin will look different by submitting themselves to that greater deity. Why does the cleric that worships Kord the Stormlord get lightning abilities where the paladin who worships the same deity does not? But why not be able to play out your Thor fantasies and be able to smite with lightning damage? And statistically, the damage type of lightning is resisted more, so that isn't really breaking anything. But why not necrotic smites for an evil god or an oathbreaker, or poison for a nature god, or fire damage if your paladin climbed out of hell? In one of my games, I even had a paladin that smited with psychic damage who was a thrall of an aboleth. Now this would be entirely dependent on the conversation between you and your DM, but to me, not all smites come from the same source. But continuing on the subversion of paladin tropes, let's replace the divine origin of paladin magic to more of an arcane one. The Battle Mage paladin are schooled in runic magic and trained to be magical warriors. Each day they carve these glyphs into their sword and then activate them like glyphs of warding to smite their opponents. Your paladin aura looking more like a constant aura of vitality spell. You could even imbue some of your other spells into your sword, making it a magical metal spellbook or a really sharp wand. You could be a part of an elite team of gishes and magical assassins that uphold the oaths and vows of the wizard school that taught them. But instead of getting trained at some wizard school, perhaps your paladin was trained at a monastery. After all, monks in the real world are very much known for the oaths and the promises that they make. Oaths like chastity, poverty, obedience, and stability, all in the name of personal progress. The Abbott paladin uses oaths like these to get their magical abilities, getting it through anointing or ritual or discipline or meditation, all mixed in with years of self-denial. But this calmness is contagious for those that are around you. These are your Jedi Knights, who are literally described as warrior monks who keep the peace in the universe. You uphold the ideals of your order as you push back the dark side. In a medieval setting, you could even deny the gods and blame them for all of the trouble in the world, and that you can do much better. Your O's making up for where the gods lacked. And sometimes that drive is to keep going, to finish what you started. And sometimes that drive, or your O's, are the only thing that's keeping you alive. A great example of the doomed paladin is Kate from the movie of the same name. An assassin poisoned by her enemy, only having 24 hours to find out who did it and exact revenge. Interestingly enough, the poison was actually concentrated radiation, so this could also be coming from your radioactive paladin. But through sheer will alone, and I think 5 injections of adrenaline, she finished her task. Perhaps your paladin is manifesting abilities because they are dying, and they are desperate to finish their business before it becomes unfinished business. And perhaps their whole life they did the wrong thing, and they want to end their life on a good note. And if you think that this video adds value to you, consider subscribing. And please hit that like button, as it does give me the benefit of a shield of faith against YouTube's relentless algorithm. And then we can continue to grow and share as we advocate for creativity and new ideas. Let's work together to better every table. But now this next concept gets a little bit video gamey, which I'm not sure a lot of you may be into, but I assure you there is a lot of flavor as we look at the power-up paladin. In games like Super Smash Bros., Mortal Kombat, or Pokemon with moves like Mirror Coat, there is a special move that you only get to use if you are hit enough or you hit your opponent enough. Once the bar is full, you get to unleash a super attack on them, releasing a bunch of damage. So why not flavor your smites in a similar way, pulling essence from your opponents to smite them back with it? Perhaps you're religious and you pull sins from your enemy and send it back to them in the form of guilt damage. Or we could flavor it as blood magic, where your sword absorbs the blood of your enemy to fuel magical attacks. Or as you hit, you slowly just learn where your enemy's weak spots are, and then you wait for the opportune moment to hit it hard. But something that both video games and the D&D world share are adventures and quests. And sometimes power is only given to an individual to complete the task or adventure at hand. So with the quest paladin, their O's are goals to achieve and not requirements to uphold. In fact, they're at the very beginning of their journey, and they're not great at upholding the O's that they are tied to. They are weak. They are human. And your paladin does not have to be perfect at their O's, contrary to what lore might tell you. But their quest could be trying to achieve that level of dedication or redemption. Or their quest could look like, go and fight and kill this dragon, or go and find this new world. And they are given the power in order to complete that task. Power doesn't come from perfection, but the power comes from trying their best. But sometimes a certain quest or task needs to be completed, however, there's no one around to do it. So citizens pray desperately for help to deliver them from this evil. So much so that the gods hear, and an Exemplar is born. A warrior angel created from the divine weave as an answer to prayer. Or a lesser angel that's given mortality from an empathetic god. Or you were dead and you were revived by a god who needs something done. Or perhaps the whole world itself is plunged into evil, and in order to tip the scales back the other way, they created you. You were born in war with the purpose to end it. Having no parents, you leave the realm once your task is completed. Or in a lesser case, the Exemplar could just be a regular person, chosen by the public as one type of chosen one. They force their ideals on you even though you may not share them. Their profound expectations on you are a literal magical weight, and it's your choice either to uphold those expectations or make new ones for yourself. And continuing on the idea of your O's not being your own and placed on you by other people, we look at the representative paladin. Because reputation is a powerful thing, and sometimes many people might look to you to represent the ideals and the morals and values of the larger population. The representative is a leader of the people, a king, a tribal leader, a politician, or in some instances an advocacy group head. Like the Electoral College in America, we vote for individuals who we think will represent what we believe is right. Perhaps the population's views align with an oath of redemption paladin, or possibly an oath of vengeance paladin. And through their vow to uphold their office, they get their powers. This could also represent the values of law enforcement, who also make oaths in office, or even a parole officer who has been assigned to watch over the rogue in your party. Or it could be passed down as a title or station that you've had in your family for generations, you being a noble in your own kingdom. But expanding that a little bit more, what if a community's values are so powerful and they share it so deeply with each other that all of them manifest oath-like abilities just for being a part of that organization? I also admit that that sounded a little borderline culty. But oath, bonds, vows of any capacity can be powerful in their own right. Some of law, and some of heart. The Bride and Groom Paladin get their magic from their dedication to each other, going beyond some signatures that you get at a courthouse, but a magical bond that fuses two souls together. In contrast, it could be an arranged marriage in order to unleash these magical abilities, making the bond more of a political one. Or perhaps your paladin is just getting their powers because of the dedication that they have to the party that they're in. But again, these vows can come from any promise. Perhaps a vow from a father to their son, or a Hippocratic oath. You have to ask yourself, who or what does your paladin dedicate their lives to? Do they vow a life of thievery, or do they promise themselves that they are going to get a seashell from every beach that they visit in the world? That one's a little bit of a joke, but still. Or why not a teacher's oath that they make for the desire to bring up a better generation to improve the world around us? But first, why not improve on these concepts that I've laid out for you? If you've had other ideas for a paladin while watching this video, or want to share some unique paladins that you've played, please share them in the comments below. As always, you can continue the discussion in my Discord, also linked in the description, and stick around the channel because next week we're going to be going over the Artificer class next. But in the meantime, go out there and spread the good word of D&D and make the world a better place, both on and off your tables. See you in the next one.